I call a member for Lindsay.
Community leaders especially speak as advocates about domestic violence, but rarely as victims. Deputy Speaker, I'd like to do something a little different today. In my first speech in this place, I said 29 out of my 36 years of life had been affected by domestic violence. I'm a survivor of family violence, and it's taken me a long time to overcome the trauma of that to be where I am today. I know there are a lot of women out there who suffer in silence, and today I stand in solidarity with survivors, with those women afraid to speak. I will use my story, told in this place, to advocate for the change we need. I will use the eve of White Ribbon Day on Friday as an opportunity to shine a light into the darkest corner of my own life. The first 13 years of my life was marred with physical domestic violence committed towards my mother at the hands of my always drunk when abusive father. My dad was the son of a World War II German soldier who committed many acts of violence against his own wife and against his 7 children. My father had been raised in a home where violence was the accepted norm at a time where society said these things were private matters. Whilst the blows that landed on my mother during my childhood didn't land on me physically, they may as well have. The trauma inflicted was the same. I recall it vividly and in great detail. Each episode of this violence over my 13 years was different, but the aftermath was always the same. Dad would apologise, promise to be different, and that would work for just a short time. On the evening of another round of abuse, Dad launched the family dinner of the evening that night at the wall. That stain remained on the wall for a very long time, but the stain in my heart would linger much longer. Mum then bundled my sister and I into the family car and we fled. We would go to the refuges in our community until, after so many years and so many incidences, that my father knew the locations and we were not safe there anymore. We then shifted to staying in hotels, which were located above pubs, where the people below were loud and sometimes their noise would spill into the streets, waking me and reminding me that I wasn't in my own bed, in my own home. I was in a foreign place because I was not safe in my home. One night, when Mum was hurrying to get my sister and I out, Dad had removed and smashed the distributor cap from the car, rendering it useless, and us trapped. The police fetched us this time. I still remember sitting in the police station well into the early hours of the morning and the officers in Penrith Police giving us pink milk. While we waited, the police did their best. Again, after this event, my mum returned home. We know many women return time and time again, even when their lives are massively disrupted, along with their children's. And I hope the blame that was launched at my mum during the 90s for not leaving is no longer a part of the solution around domestic violence, and the questions of why she doesn't just leave quit being asked. Eventually, though, the courage rises up. Services step up and women stand up, finally leaving. But not before one last terrible incident. There were 13 police cars the last time physical violence affected my childhood, but this was the end of the physical violence once and for all. Whilst the physical part ceased, other abuse around finance and control dried up. Sadly, the wheel of domestic violence continues to affect my life as a grown woman with the children of my own, and the last 16 years of my life have been and continue to be affected by domestic and family violence. In the limited time I have left, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Opposition Leader Bill Shorten for his continued support of my personal situation, understanding and the support that you provide to me. I would like to thank my caucus colleagues and our staff who know my story, who don't judge me and who continue to provide support. I would like to acknowledge the Penrith Women's Health Service in my community who have been providing services to my community for 30 years, including to my mum then and to my own family now. Sometimes, in my experience, I have found that mostly victims don't talk about violence, domestic violence, because other people don't talk about domestic violence. For many years, I was embarrassed and I was ashamed. I know that I shouldn't be. but I am. I hope that today I have lent my voice, my story, my passion for advocating for change to the choir of the White Ribbon movement to stand up, speak out and to act. Thank you.